Chaos just hit the heart of Labour. Just minutes ago, Angela Rayner walked into a high-level meeting with shocking documents in hand. Her target? Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves. The accusation? Stealing or mishandling £5.1 billion in government funds. And Keir Starmer? He completely lost control. What started as a quiet briefing has now become a political explosion that could shake the entire Labour Party, and possibly destroy their upcoming election plans. It all happened suddenly, almost too suddenly. Reports started coming in from inside Labour's inner circle that Angela Rayner had uncovered a serious financial irregularity. According to leaked internal memos and emails, Rayner found detailed accounts that link Rachel Reeves, the party's Shadow Chancellor, to £5.1 billion in questionable fund movements. The documents allegedly reveal how these funds, meant for public use, were either redirected, misplaced, or hidden without full disclosure. These are not small accounting errors. We're talking billions of pounds, money tied to government-linked programs, possibly redirected through private routes or left unaccounted in shadow budgets. Sources close to the party say Angela Rayner didn't wait. She immediately requested an emergency meeting with Keir Starmer, the Labour leader. At that point, no one expected what was about to unfold. Inside the meeting, in front of senior aides and legal advisors, Rayner presented the documents. Some say her tone was calm but firm. Others say she was furious. But one thing is clear, she came prepared. And Starmer was not ready for what he saw. Eyewitnesses from that closed-door session say Keir Starmer's reaction was explosive. He allegedly stood up, slammed his hand on the table, and demanded to know if the documents were real. After quickly glancing through them, he turned to Reeves with disbelief. "How long have you known about this?" he reportedly asked. Reeves, caught off guard, appeared shaken. No prepared statements. No explanations. Just silence. What's even more shocking is how fast this escalated. Within an hour, Labour's press team had gone silent. Their social media accounts stopped posting. Communications officers avoided reporters. And worst of all, the party's official financial spokesperson refused to comment, adding fuel to the fire. For many political observers, this is a clear sign of panic at the top. So, what exactly is the accusation here? While details are still coming in, sources say the money in question was part of a broader funding package meant for infrastructure and social welfare programs. It's not clear yet whether Reeves personally directed the misuse or whether she allowed others to do so under her watch. Either way, her name is all over the paper trail, according to Rayner's report. Rayner's motivations are also under question. Is this the move of a whistleblower who discovered something serious and acted on principle? Or is this a strategic play, a power move in the middle of a growing leadership divide? Rayner and Reeves have not always seen eye to eye, and their rivalry is no secret in Westminster. But no one expected it to boil over like this, and certainly not just months before a possible general election. Outside Parliament, news of the scandal is spreading like wildfire. Hashtags like #ReevesScandal, #RaynerLeaks, and #LabourCrisis are trending across social platforms. Conservative MPs are already calling for a full investigation. Media channels are pushing for public answers. And voters, many of whom were leaning toward Labour, are left feeling shocked, betrayed, and confused. In less than an hour, the Labour Party has gone from riding high in the polls to defending itself from one of the worst internal scandals in recent years. And it's just the beginning. If the documents are verified, if the media gets their hands on more leaks, or if Starmer decides to take action against Reeves, this could change the entire face of Labour's leadership. Stay tuned, because this scandal is just getting started. Now the big question echoing across every newsroom and political office: when did Rachel Reeves know, and who else was in on it? This isn't a minor accounting issue buried in footnotes. This is £5.1 billion in public money. Someone had to authorize it, someone had to move it, and someone had to keep it quiet. Insiders say the questionable fund transfers started showing up in internal records over 8 months ago. Back then, there were whispers of unusual financial activity in the shadow Treasury team, but nothing ever reached the public. Staffers were told it was a data error, a temporary glitch. But those glitches added up, billions went missing from official forecasts and projections. And Rachel Reeves, being at the top of the financial command, was the one responsible for signing off. The timeline gets more suspicious. Around 4 months ago, a private financial consultant reportedly raised concerns with Labour's audit team about unexplained figures in a spending file. Instead of a full review, that consultant was quietly dismissed. No explanation. No follow-up. Some now wonder, was that the first real attempt to blow the whistle? Angela Rayner's involvement begins here. According to reports, she was copied in a set of private emails that were never meant to reach her. Those emails contained flagged warnings and budget line items marked as classified, with Reeves' initials all over them. At first, Rayner remained quiet. But something changed in recent weeks. Sources say she began digging deeper, meeting with former staff, reviewing financial logs, and even consulting legal advisors outside the party, and here's where things really twist. If Reeves did know, and approved, these shady movements of funds, she wasn't acting alone. Names of senior aides, campaign consultants, and even outside donors are now rumored to be involved. People who stood to gain massive financial or political leverage from keeping this quiet. If these connections are proven true, we could be looking at a wider conspiracy, not just a solo scandal. But what about Keir Starmer? Did he know anything before today? That's where things get complicated. Some claim Starmer had been alerted in passing months ago but chose not to act, fearing internal party damage. Others say he truly had no idea, and Rayner's documents were the first full picture he'd seen. If Starmer knew and said nothing, it's not just a scandal, it becomes a leadership crisis. But if he didn't know, then the real fear is this. If his closest shadow minister could hide a £5.1 billion issue under his nose, how prepared is Labour to run the country? Rayner's decision to go directly to Starmer may have been political, but it may have also been her only option. With Reeves' office reportedly ignoring requests for answers and other party members too afraid to speak up, Rayner chose confrontation. And now the entire top leadership of Labour is under a microscope. The timeline is tightening. Journalists are now filing freedom of information requests. Investigative watchdogs are demanding that Labour turn over their internal financial records. And political opponents are preparing to use every detail of this timeline to break the party's public image before the next election cycle begins. In short, the longer this goes without answers, the more dangerous it becomes for everyone involved. Labour isn't just fighting for damage control. They're now fighting for survival, both in Parliament and in the eyes of the voters, and with every passing hour, more eyes are turning toward Angela Rayner, not as a rebel, but possibly as the only leader willing to expose the truth here. Starmer is known for his calm, composed public image. But inside that private meeting, witnesses say the Labour leader snapped. As Angela Rayner laid out the evidence, and as Rachel Reeves reportedly froze without clear answers, Starmer's anger boiled over. According to one aide who was present, he stood up mid-sentence, slammed his palm on the table, and said, "If this is true, it ends everything." That moment may have marked the beginning of Labour's internal breakdown. Within hours, Starmer's office issued a carefully worded non-denial. It neither confirmed nor denied the documents Rayner presented. But the silence around Rachel Reeves spoke louder than any official statement. Journalists waiting outside Parliament were told Reeves had no comment at this time. No public appearance. No press conference. She was essentially invisible. For someone in one of the most powerful positions in the shadow cabinet, that silence was deafening. Meanwhile, Angela Rayner's team was quick to act. They didn't go public, but they didn't stay quiet either. Strategic leaks began making their way into major media outlets. Whispered tips, cryptic phrases like £5.1 billion misfiled or Reeves' override signature, and quotes from anonymous party members describing total betrayal hit headlines across the UK. Political journalists went into overdrive. In just one afternoon, the story went from internal conflict to a full-blown national crisis. The reaction across the political spectrum has been intense. The Conservatives, predictably, pounced. A Tory MP took to social media and wrote, "Labour can't even manage their own house, how will they manage the country?" The Liberal Democrats demanded immediate transparency and called for an external review of Labour's financial dealings. Even voices from within Labour's own base began expressing doubt. One longtime party supporter wrote, "I believed in Reeves. If this is true, she's done. And so is my vote." And voters? They're furious. This wasn't just some backroom argument about party policy. This was about public money. £5.1 billion, enough to fund thousands of schools, hospitals, or housing projects, just gone. And the possibility that Reeves, or others under her, were responsible is being seen as unforgivable. Across social media, hashtags exploded, #WhereIsTheMoney, #ReevesGate, and even #StarmerCollapse were trending by evening. Protesters began gathering outside Labour headquarters by nightfall. Some carried signs demanding Rayner take over as interim leader. Others called for a full investigation not just into Reeves but the entire shadow Treasury team. Labour's once strong image of unity is now in tatters. Starmer faces pressure from every direction. His authority is shaken. His judgment is under fire. And worst of all, his silence is being seen as complicity. But it's not just his leadership on the line, it's the future of Labour's election strategy. Polling numbers, which just a week ago had Labour leading by 8 points, are now showing signs of slipping. Political analysts predict that if Starmer does not act decisively and fast, he could lose control of his own party before the public even gets a chance to vote. And what about Rachel Reeves? Her political career is now on life support. Some insiders say she's already considering resignation to contain the damage. Others believe she's preparing to deny everything, blaming administrative error or staff miscommunication. But even if that were true, £5.1 billion doesn't disappear by accident. Someone signed those approvals. Someone moved that money. And if Reeves didn't do it herself, she still failed to stop it. Angela Rayner, once seen as the outsider in Labour's power circle, may now be the only figure standing with any credibility. Whether by design or by accident, she's positioned herself as the truth teller, the one who dared to speak up when others stayed silent. But as the party scrambles to find answers, the nation watches with one question in mind: is this the end of Rachel Reeves, or the beginning of Labour's total collapse? Now comes the most critical moment in this political firestorm: what happens next? The public wants answers. The party needs control. And Keir Starmer? He has to make the most difficult choice of his leadership: either stand by Rachel Reeves and risk the party's reputation, or cut her loose and risk total civil war inside Labour. As of now, no formal investigation has been announced, but that won't hold for long. Legal experts say if even part of Angela Rayner's report holds true, Labour may face not just internal audits, but full-scale inquiries by Parliament, independent watchdogs, and possibly even the police. The misuse or disappearance of £5.1 billion is not something that gets handled quietly. Whispers from Westminster suggest Starmer is already in emergency meetings with legal counsel and senior party figures. Some are urging him to suspend Reeves immediately, to show strength and contain public anger. Others are warning him that turning against her too quickly might look like desperation or guilt. But with every hour he delays, public trust is slipping, and the scandal deepens. Behind the scenes, the shadow cabinet is splitting. A few MPs have publicly backed Starmer's leadership. But several key figures, especially those aligned with Rayner, are reportedly demanding change. There's talk of a leadership challenge, whispers of a vote of no confidence, and growing support for Angela Rayner to take a more prominent role. Not because she's angling for power, but because she's the only one right now who looks clean. Rachel Reeves herself has remained silent, but her team is under pressure. Sources say her aides are already shredding old statements and reviewing every document she's signed in the last 12 months. If she steps down, it will send a clear signal: something went very wrong. But if she digs in and denies everything, the party could fracture beyond repair. And then there's the biggest question of all: what if Reeves isn't the only one involved? Angela Rayner's documents, while centered on Reeves, mention other names, senior officials, donors, and advisors who may have helped move or hide the money. If those names start leaking, this scandal won't stop with one resignation. It could lead to an avalanche of suspensions, resignations, and the total collapse of Labour's financial credibility. And with an election on the horizon, this could be political suicide. Meanwhile, the Conservatives are watching closely. Some believe they're already preparing attack ads, sharpening their knives for the upcoming debates. Because now, the narrative isn't just about Labour policy, it's about trust, honesty, and corruption. 3 words that no party wants to be associated with. Especially not while asking for the country's vote. Voters are angry. Some feel betrayed. Others feel embarrassed for believing Labour had a clean slate. And a growing number are calling for open, televised hearings, demanding transparency, not spin. The public doesn't just want Reeves gone. They want to know where their money went. As for Angela Rayner, she's walking a tightrope. Her actions have made her a hero to some and a threat to others. If Starmer tries to silence her, it could backfire badly. But if he backs her, it could mean the end for Reeves, and possibly the start of a new power structure in Labour altogether. In just 24 hours, everything changed. A trusted shadow chancellor is now at the centre of a £1 billion scandal. A deputy leader has exposed her own colleague. And the man who's supposed to hold it all together, Keir Starmer, is now faced with the hardest decision of his political life. Will he defend his team and risk losing the nation? Or will he tear down his own leadership to protect what's left of Labour's future? Whatever happens next, one thing is clear: the storm has only just begun.